In this video, we'll discuss how to name acids and bases. Acids can be identified by looking at the formula. Notice these examples all have hydrogen in the formula and they are all on the far left, so they begin with H. Some acids like acetic acid, the H could be on the left or the right, but most are written like this. Bases are typically ionic with hydroxide as the anion, but there are exceptions to that. We have different types of acids and bases. Now, what's kind of confusing about this, acids are molecular, but they cause ionization. The oxygen has a lone pair of electrons that's attracted to the hydrogen. That breaks the bond between the hydrogen and whatever it's bonded to, causing ionization. The chloride sucks in the electron from the hydrogen, it becomes ionized. The hydrogen then bonds with the water, and you get two ions, hydronium and chloride. Again, acids are molecular, but they do produce ions, and it's very important to know this because we're looking at the anion that's produced in order to name the acid. There are two types of acids, binary and oxy. Binary is just hydrogen and a nonmetal. Binary is a hydrogen with an oxy anion. These are some examples, chlorate, chlorite. Those are two examples. Now, we have to think about the anion that is produced with acid in water. And so if your formula is HClO3, we know the anion would be chlorate. And so if your anion ends with chlorate, we change the ending to ic acid. So if it's HClO3, that's chloric acid. We change the ate to ic acid. But if the ion that's produced is ite, if it ends with ite, that's called an us acid. So chloride, if that's produced, the acid is chlorous acid. And you look at the formula, ClO2. ClO2 is chlorite, so that's chlorous acid. If you have a binary acid, we include a prefix. So the way to know by looking at the name would be ide. If the anion ends with ide, that's a binary. But it's not always a binary. So you have cyanide, for example. So if it ends with ide, whether it's binary or if it is a polyatomic ion like cyanide, we still use the hydroic acid rule. So if it ends with ide, it's a hydroic acid. So HCl, the Cl is chloride, hydrochloric acid. So here's some examples. We notice this is an acid because there's an H. IO3 is a polyatomic ion. What's the name of that polyatomic ion? Iodate. Iodate ends with ate, so it's iotic acid. The next one is chlorus. That's an us acid. Chlor is, chloride, chlorite, chlorate, but since this ends with us, it's an ite, so that would be chlorite. So the formula is ClO2 negative. The acid is HClO2. Carbonate. So carbonate ends with ate. CO3 is carbonate. So that's an ic acid, carbonic acid. Notice the -2 here for the charge. That tells us we have two hydrogens. So fluoric acid, hydrofluoric acid is hydro, so that's an ide. That would be HF.